It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the Brouhaha show here on WABO. We got Marshall Wood and Dale McKee, and we are ready to go. Isn't that right, Dale?
I think so. After what you handed me when I walked in here.
Well, you know what they say, you got to pay to play, baby. You got to pay to play. What's
Unreal.
going on in the world of sports?
I have no idea. You got me so shook up.
There's a song, let's see, I think there's a group named Chicago, and one of the lines in their song.
Never heard of them.
Does anybody
Are they
really
from Boston?
Does anybody really know what day what day it is?
No, my wife could tell you that because she's a big Chicago fan. Only Chicago I know is the Cubs.
The Cubs.
The Cubs.
I can see that coming out.
The mighty Cubs.
I watched a baseball movie last night.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Sure did. It had that what was that called? Golly, it had a funny guy in it playing pitcher. There's a lady. It was about the Cleveland Indians and Major League, I think was the name of it.
Major
You ever seen
League.
that? It's kind of a comedy kind of thing.
Yeah. Everybody knows about Major League.
Yeah.
You know?
Bob Uecker was
And Bob
calling it.
Uecker, a little outside.
Yeah. Oh, I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I've seen it about 10 times already.
That was a funny movie. That was a very funny movie.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Anyway, what else can we talk about?
Well, let's just talk about our guest.
Our guest. Okay, that's a good question. Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. Our guest is named Blake Levine. A lot of our viewers, our listeners, may know him. He is the Channel 22 sports director. He's based out of Jackson, but you know they show it on the Hattiesburg on the 22 down here. And does a really good job. Sunday night they got like a 45-minute sports show from 10:15, 11 o'clock, recapping the week. And Blake's going to give us a different perspective because he really didn't grow up in Mississippi.
He's got more of a world view.
Yeah, or maybe we need to change his way of thinking, one or the other, you know. So,
So where did he grow up?
He grew up. He's going to tell us that tonight.
Oh, okay. So we don't want to steal his thunder.
Well, let him say a couple things,
Okay.
instead of us dominating the conversation like we always do. Or at least you try to do. But anyway, it is what it is.
Okay, now I want you people to listen to the rest of this show, and you decide on your own who tries to dominate the conversation. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, I love you, Dale.
Huh?
I love you, Dale.
I'm not saying another word.
And this Blake Levine, I tell you what, let's do. We're having a good time, and I think we're even going to have some more fun after this break when we come back with tonight's guest here on the Brouhaha, Blake Levine. But let's take a break to hear from our sponsors, and Dale and I, Blake will be right back after this word.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Blake Levine from Channel 22 in Jackson, Mississippi. How are you doing today, Blake?
I'm doing good. Just getting ready for work and hanging out with you guys.
Okay, so you call that work that you do, just getting up there talking about sports?
Yeah, when you wake up at 9 a.m. and you get off work at 11 p.m., I think that's work.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's like being in the newspaper business. We used to get there at 6 a.m. and leave at 11 p.m. So, you TV people got banker's hours there, But things have changed.
You can love your job and also if you work.
There you go. Well, I know you do because, I love talking and writing about sports also. So, but listen, first of all, I guess I need to welcome you to Mississippi and tell us how you got to Mississippi, Blake.
I'm originally from Los Angeles. I went to Syracuse for college because they had a really good journalism school. Then I got my first job as a news producer in Tallahassee, Florida. Worked my way up. I was a news reporter then there. And then I got a job as the second sports guy in Greenville, Mississippi. Worked there for about 2 years. And then I've been in Jackson for 2 years, and then the sports director at WJTV for about a year.
Okay. Well, tell us about what's your favorite sport? Or do you have one?
Yeah, I definitely have one. I think for me, I enjoy baseball, but if I'm going to go to a game, probably football, but I probably know the most about basketball. So it's kind of like you kind of get all three of them in there. But to me, I mean, if I had to answer, it'd probably be baseball.
I got you. So when you were growing up in California, did the Rams come back at a certain age for you? Like I can't remember when they moved back, but you know they were in L.A.
I was in college. So I never really got to experience that. So we didn't grow up with a football team. Most of the people in my area were Raiders fans.
Okay. All right. Well, that's basically what I was going to ask you there. But you know, to me, it's just mind-boggling that the NFL, as marketing savvy as they are, let a team leave Los Angeles to go to St. Louis. I have nothing against St. Louis. They got a wonderful baseball team. But it just seemed very odd to me that you would let one of the biggest media markets. So were the Rams accepted a lot when they came back?
Yeah, so yes and no. I think the Raiders are still the biggest team in Los Angeles, even though they're not there and they're in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Rams left, the Raiders left, and it's completely different scenarios. I think the Raiders left because Al Davis liked to do his own thing. I don't think they could stop him. But if Roger Goodell is the commissioner, I can't see a team ever leaving Los Angeles again.
No, I don't either. But let me tell you about. Let me ask you about. Not tell you. Let me ask you about. Well, what are the Chargers in LA? Are they like non-existent? Do they have fans that go to the games? They're
like the ugly stepchild.
I got you. Okay. So it just seemed odd for me that they would want to go to another market and be the second fiddle because, you know, the Clippers have never gotten the number one, slot over the Lakers, and they never will. That's just my opinion on that. Okay. So what about baseball? What team did you kind of root for when you were growing up?
Oh, New York Mets fan. I loved Mike Piazza.
Okay. So you're living in L.A. and you like the Mets. So when you went to Dodger Stadium to see them play, did you wear your Mets hat?
If they were playing the Mets, I would.
Okay. All right. Okay, and you're still walking on both legs, right? Okay. Well, that's fantastic. Of course, we got a lot of Met fans on this part of the country because for a long time, Jackson, before you came, was a Double-A team for the Mets, and all those 86 Mets came through Jackson. So there's still a lot of Met fans are down here, and of course we have more since Mississippi State legend there Buck Showalter's up there managing the Mets. So we probably still have a lot of Mets fans up in the area also. All right, so let me just ask you tell me about a typical day for you in the sports world that you do.
Well, it just depends on the season, right? Is it football? Is it basketball? Is it baseball season? Right now, during baseball season, most of my and this time of year, let's just do this like today or this week.
Yeah.
The SEC tournament is playing, so I will mainly just be in the office cutting highlights of the SEC games because we're not there. We're not in Nashville, Tennessee right now. So I'll just be cutting those, and then I'll do the 6 o'clock show, and then I'll probably find one high school baseball game that seems enticing to go to, and I'll go to that in between the 6 and the 10 p.m. just to have something new, a little bit different. During football season, it's usually going to practices, finding storylines. We do a game of the week every week on Thursday night, previewing our biggest game in central Mississippi. Sometimes it is in the Pine Belt if we feel like it's big enough. If Oak Grove and Petal are both 7-0 and they're going to play each other, then we may make that our game of the week. So and then basketball is the same as baseball where you do some stuff in the morning and then you go find a game or two at night to go to, usually high school. Because for us, high school sports is just as big as college for our station.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is college baseball big out in California, or is it just
No, not at all. UCLA's lucky if they get 1,000 people.
Really? So what?
And they're a top 25. USC has won 11 national championships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they get like 800 people.
So anyway, what about the football? On the football side, say a Southern Cal, do they draw a lot of folks to a game? I'm sure they do when they play Notre Dame.
I could make the argument
Yeah.
that if the Rams are good, the Chargers are good, USC is good, UCLA is good, all the football teams in the state of California are good, the 49ers, USC football is the biggest draw if they're good. If they're a top 5 team, people are excited. It is a passionate fan base.
I got you. I heard Tim Tebow talk one time, and he said that Southern Cal was on his final 5 list when he was coming out of college. That he had like Michigan and Alabama and Florida and USC, and there was somebody else. I'm not sure of the 5th team, but he was just talking about going to Southern Cal and how it was just a little bit more different than it was, I guess a SEC venue and things like that. So as far as the baseball from last year, let's talk a little bit about Ole Miss, and you were there for the Mississippi State run. What made Ole Miss? I mean, you saw them during the season. What did you think transpired by the team? What they did in March and what they did in May?
Well, the pitching completely changed. If anyone looks at the numbers, I mean, you had guys with 5 ERAs pitching in the College World Series. It's not like these guys were Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander out there. These were 2 guys, Hunter Elliott and Dylan DeLucia were 2 guys that were all right at best during the regular season, and they found themselves as the season kind of started to conclude, and their offense was always going to be good. So I think that the pitching came around, and then, you get hot, and that's a normal saying. But, look, Ole Miss was ranked number 1 after 20 games. Nobody thought that they were lacking talent. They had the talent. They just got into a rut that some baseball teams get into. Teams go on bad spells. Baseball is one of those games where, unlike football and basketball, your prolonged slumps are a little bit longer, and your highs are higher than the other ones, if you get hot. So they got hot at the right time, but they also had a lot of talent, and that's why they were ranked, in the top 10 preseason. So is it a surprise they made it to the College World Series? If you look at them prior to the season, no. But it's more about how they were playing in the middle of the season, which was they were just pitching so poorly.
Well, listen, I know that you can be very opinionated at times, and that's no I guess negative remark, because it's always good to hear and stuff like that. Do you think our fans in Mississippi, whether it's football or basketball or baseball, do you think they're too critical of our of our teams? Because I see other fan bases, it seems like outside of our area, our Mississippi fans at times, if their team is not winning, they don't go to the games, and then you go to other venues, and you go to like a Tennessee, and they're like 4-6 a couple of years ago, and they've sold the place out, 100,000 football fans. Do you think our fans in Mississippi are a little too tough on of criticism of our coaches and our players?
For me, the fan base thing is a little tough, only because Ole Miss and Mississippi State are on the smaller side of enrollment that the other SEC schools have. So it's harder for them. That's why their stadiums are a little bit smaller, and their percentage of how many students they have are just less. Do I think that they're critical? No, I think Mississippi fans are as nuts as all the other fans, and they blame refs for why their teams don't win, when in reality they just may not be good. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talk about how bad the umpires have been about Mississippi State baseball. Have you watched Mississippi State baseball this year? They're not a good team. To be honest, the way that they play is just so fundamentally messed up. And yet, you got people blaming umpires, refs, basketball. I see Ole Miss fans blame the refs in football. You lost 4 out of the last 5. Nothing to do with the refs. So I think that's one thing that I think is really funny about Mississippi people, and I think it's a general problem everywhere, the blaming the refs thing. But no, I think there is a lot of passion. I think when it comes to college baseball, it's one of the most passionate states in the country, and then when it comes to football, for the percentage of people that are here, I think it's really good.
Well, this college basketball season, Southern Miss made such a great turnaround. I think everybody was kind of surprised because Coach Ladner had lost, 3 or 4 guys that contributed to his team last year very, very significantly. And he kind of replaced them with several new guys. And Ole Miss, on the other hand, lost 3 or 4 quality players to the transfer portal and really never replaced those 4. And so what can a team be rebuilt in 1 year like Southern did? Is that going to be the future of, say, college basketball, where you only need about 2 or 3 good players and you're going to be a lot different team? And what's your take on the transfer portal?
The transfer portal's screwed up, and I wish that they would fix it. This idea that you get 1 free transfer portal before you're a graduate, just not really a fan. You sign a contract. I think everyone should abide by the contract. I can't just get out of my contract. I think that's just life. We want to pay people to play. Well, then we got to uphold contracts too. We can't just have it one way or the other. When it comes to can the transfer portal turn you around in the season? Sure, it can turn you around in the season, but I don't think that that's the norm. Usually when a kid transfers, it's because he's not playing at a specific school, which means that you're getting a guy that is not good enough sometimes to play at a certain school, and he comes to you. I think that helps the mid-major programs. I'm not so sure it helps the top-tier programs. Alabama and Georgia football, if you've noticed, do not lose many transfers and do not take in many transfers. Ole Miss does the other way. Georgia and Alabama are winning national championships, and Ole Miss is trying to get there. So I think for the mid-majors like a Southern Miss, yes, I think that you're getting transfers from guys that are good enough to play in the SEC but may not be ready, but they'll be ready when they come to you. So I think for the mid-majors, it's good. I mean, I think you could turn it around faster. For the Power Fives, I'm not so sure the transfer portal. If you're going to switch out your whole 5, I think you're in trouble. If you bring 1 in, I think then that's a different story.
Well, there's a Laurel boy coaching the University of Louisville, Kenny Payne. And, of course, I've been keeping up with Kenny. I think Kenny won like 4 ball games this year at Louisville. And, of course,
it was bad.
Kenny Payne.
Yes, I was saying it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. And but anyway, how can somebody like that rebuild a program? What I'm saying is, how long is it going to take a major, say, a University of Louisville to replace, to get back where they were? Is it going to be just going through signing freshmen, or can you afford to sign freshmen anymore? Or are you going to lose them to the transfer portal?
Well, I mean, I think that's up for Kenny Payne to decide. I
understand that, but if you were in Kenny's spot and you had a great traditional program like the University of Louisville, I mean, how would you go about it if you were coaching them? Would you target the freshmen coming in and try to build around them, or would you try the transfer portal? I guess that's what I'm trying to ask you in a roundabout way there, and not putting you on the spot.
Yes, I think teams are always better when they go from getting high schoolers, they build them up, and by sophomore, junior, senior year, they're great players. I think that's always going to be the right place. Now, some coaches feel the heat, so they feel like they got to immediately change something. I don't know. Some people think that, if I just go through the transfer portal, maybe I can immediately change this. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think Mississippi State is a little bit better than they were last year, but I've always been for getting high school players, developing them, and who knows? We don't know if he's going to be a good coach or not. So I just don't know.
Yeah. I got you on that. All right, were you around L.A. when Lane Kiffin was out there coaching USC?
I was in Los Angeles when he was at USC, and I was in Florida when he was at FIU.
How about that? Well, listen, how did the fans take him out there, and did they understand his unusual humor?
I think he was a completely different person when he was there. Actually, I think a lot of people really disliked him. I think that he was very standoff. He didn't connect with players, and ultimately the way he got fired was an embarrassment from USC, and it embarrassed him. So I think that I actually think he may have just not been ready for that type of job, and his personality at that point, he didn't know how to coach players. So it was an ugly scene. Now, did he win some football games? Sure he did. He's a great coach. But I don't think he was ready to lead a college football program of that magnitude at that moment.
All right, let me ask you a question here, and it may be our final question, but where do you think Blake Levine will be in 10 years?
Do you want me to give you an example of a person, or do you want me to give you an example
just say, what is your aspirations in the sports TV business? Are you always going to be in it, you think, or you might be in another profession, or do you have aspirations to go higher in your job now, as far as would you entertain going nationally, or are you comfort in the market like you're in now, like a bigger market, like a Dallas, or would you like to even go back to LA?
That's a really tough question because I don't know until we know. Okay. But I would say that there are aspirations of being national, but I'm also comfortable here. Family life always changes things. Mm-hmm. So it's really tough. But yes, what I could see myself as, I believe I could be good enough to be on ESPN, Fox Sports, and debating sports. Yeah, I think absolutely. I think for my work ethic, I think that I could absolutely be there.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I think you're an outstanding young sportscaster. I guess I can still use that word "young" there. Marshall?
Everybody's young when you compare them to us, Dale. Listen, I want to ask you a question. We're about
28. I'm 28.
Well, I can't even remember that far back. But listen, I want to ask you something. We're about out of time, but I want to kind of close out on this thought, Blake. If you're talking to some aspiring young sports writers or broadcasters, what information or what would you tell them? What advice could you give them as they might consider a career doing what you're doing?
I think it would be the same advice I'd give them to any career that they choose. You're going to spend 4 years studying it. At least give it 4 years in a career field. Do not quit before that.
I like that. I wish you'd told me that.
Yeah, you're right. If you're gonna study it for 4 years, you might as well give it 4 years.
That makes a lot of sense. What's that, Dale?
No, I was going to ask Blake if he'd stay online, since we ended up, and I got a couple of things I'd like to discuss with him.
Okay. I'll tell you what, let's do. Blake, we're about out of time, so we're gonna sign off to come back to our final segment. But when we sign off, you hang on with us here if you would. Would you please do that? And thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for letting me come on.
All right, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsor, and Dale and I will be back with the final segment of tonight's Brouhaha right after this commercial.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back to tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha. We enjoyed our visit with Mr. Blake. Interesting guy, Dale. Interesting guy. Young man.
Yeah. 28, is that young?
I think, yes, sir, buddy. That's a spring chicken right there.
Yeah. Well, look at it. He's probably lived in Mississippi about 4 or 5 years now, so that's good. He's learning culture.
From L.A., educated in Syracuse, and down here in Mississippi. I mean, isn't it a crazy world we live in?
Well, I kind of admire a kid like that.
I do too.
I mean, how many kids would leave L.A. as an 18-year-old go all the way across the country just to go to the best journalism school in the country.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, but half of those ESPN announcers went to Syracuse.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And the other half probably went to Missouri.
yeah.
Because, Missouri is more noted for journalism than the television end of it, But, if you like sports and you're compassionate about it, you start off with a little radio show, about 30 minutes interviewing people. And,
Yeah, you start off with probably like a newspaper article.
Yeah,
and then you get you a radio show.
Yeah.
And then what's next?
And then you go local TV, and then you go national TV
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Okay. So what we're gonna do?
I think the clock's ticking away.
Yeah. We should have got started a little earlier.
Yeah.
A little earlier. Look, before we close out, I just want to throw this at you. The SEC has been talking about this schedule business. And 3 or 4 days ago, a week ago, I don't know, Nick Saban comes out. He's throwing a fit because he's gonna, they're gonna give everybody prospectively, each SEC member of the football is gonna have to play the same 3 teams every year, and then they'll rotate the other one. Now, Saban's fussing about playing Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. And everybody says, well, this is probably not going to happen. Then several days ago, the coach over there at LSU says, these are our 3 games. And his 3 games are Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Alabama. Why is Nick so upset? He plays these guys already anyway. I don't understand.
Well, what I think, just looking at it, if you ask me to give Alabama 3, those are 3 I'd give them because, the Alabama LSU game is one of the premier games in college football in this day and time. The Tennessee, they played the 3rd Saturday of October since, before you and I were born.
Yeah.
And Auburn's a rival. I don't know what his problem is.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at some of this stuff, like, say, for Ole Miss, we did play Mississippi State, for sure. Arkansas is our neighbor, and LSU's our neighbor.
That Arkansas deal used to be huge back in the day, and it still is.
And LSU used to be huger than, it was a national game. So I think that's the kind of people that you need to play. You need to play and establish a tradition with those schools. Now, State, if you look at theirs, I don't know if that's any tradition to it. When they're always going to play Ole Miss, but what does Texas A&M and State have the agriculture and all that? I don't know, engineering programs and all that. And Kentucky, I'm not sure why they are going to play Kentucky, but who else would they play? They could have played Alabama because they're 60 miles apart, or 90 miles apart, every what it is. But I think the SEC, it's very hard. You look at Vanderbilt, they're playing Tennessee, Auburn, and Missouri. I could see them playing Tennessee. I got no idea why they're playing Auburn and Missouri. And then you look at Tennessee, and they're playing Vanderbilt, Alabama, and South Carolina. Well, I understand about 2 of them. I'm not sure about South Carolina. I guess South Carolina's a neighbor, though, aren't they? Tennessee and South Carolina?
No, I don't think so.
I think they both somehow in there, don't they? Who is that Tennessee goes with there? Maybe it's...
North Carolina.
North Carolina? Okay. And then...
look out mountain, you can stand up here and see 7 State. Or
Sure.
I don't think South Carolina's one of them, but I think North Carolina is.
Well, but you look at Georgia, they're going to play Auburn, which is their oldest rival, and they're going to play Florida. So those are 2 gimmies.
Yeah, biggest cocktail party in the world.
But Florida, too, I look at it, they're going to play Georgia, Oklahoma, and South Florida. Oklahoma, who's Texas play? Oklahoma, A&M, and Arkansas. That's the old Southwest Conference.
Yeah.
And, but why did they give Oklahoma entirely different teams, basically?
What?
They give Missouri and Florida.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's right next to, it looks like Oklahoma would have got A&M and them too. But they were trying to, hey, we're going to give you 1 or 2, and then we'll just have to throw somebody in there. Yeah. Like Missouri, okay, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. I can see 2 of them, maybe Oklahoma, that's the old Big 8, Arkansas, that's the old I don't know if that's, I don't know why. I guess they just neighbors there. They've been here for several years there, huh? But anyway, I just think it's real interesting how they're going to do all that. But it's hit and miss. Maybe you can change. I mean, you say, hey, I mean, can you see when Florida and goes to Missouri? I mean, is that every year? I mean, is that going to draw big crowds? I mean, are they going to get a little tradition there, or what it is? And,
Tradition's hard to create, buddy.
yeah, I mean, but I think Alabama with LSU and Auburn and Tennessee has created great tradition.
Oh, they already got it. Yeah.
I mean, those three teams have,
Yeah.
played. And Ole Miss has got the three teams that they deserve: State, LSU, and Arkansas. And like I said, Mississippi State, except probably for that. Well, I'm not sure about Kentucky, but I don't know who else you could give them.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing too that we not mentioned about this is the television revenue that comes off of some of these games. The SEC is going to want to put people playing each other. They're going to maximize revenue potential on nationally televised football games. Would you think there's some component of that involved in it?
Yeah, but I look at say Texas there. They've got where are the Longhorns on there?
Texas right there. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Arkansas.
Yeah,
Texas and Oklahoma is going to be a
they should play.
yeah.
They've been playing every year since.
Yeah, and the same thing with A&M.
Yeah.
Those going to be big. Those be big market type games.
Oh yeah.
Right there, and of course
I mean, everybody's going to be so excited.
Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. You
Yeah.
know Alabama's going to be hooked
Yeah.
up on that. But
Well, I mean, this is already a great tradition.
Yeah.
Now.
this being Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah. And but I think Oklahoma's going. With Missouri and Florida, I don't know if anything's going to be established there. But that's just my
Dale,
read on that.
I think we're out of time.
Are we?
Yeah. I've had a good time.
Did J Bar call yet?
No, he hadn't called, but
Okay.
maybe he will. It's about time. But anyway, I want folks to remember to follow us on Facebook at Brouhaha, and all of our shows are archived on our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha, so you can check them out and watch them on demand. So, but for now, another segment of the Brouhaha has come to a close, and it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.